Hello, everyone. Ex-Wallkill Bethel here, and I'm going to tell you guys something about Bethel that I don't know that a lot of people know about. And let me back up with, when I go to Bethel, when I went to Bethel, born and raised Jehovah's Witness, didn't know too much of anything about other churches. I'm pretty sure never even been inside like a Catholic church or anything like that. The only thing I knew was Jehovah's Witness teaching and going out in service, and that's literally it. Then I get to Bethel, and I'll give you 3 guesses of what my favorite book was in the Bethel library. Guess 1, you got that wrong. Guess 2, you got that one wrong. Guess 3, you got that wrong. Okay, let me go ahead and tell you. My favorite book in the Bethel library, and I know I'm building up suspense, but I'm telling you, I would be in the library some days. After work, I would go in the library and I would study, from the time the sun went down. It'd be dark by the time I left that library sometimes, because I would really get into personal study and reading. And so I spent a lot of time in the library and went through a lot of the books that was in the Wallkill library, not the E-Res. If you've been to Wallkill and if you're a Bethelite from Wallkill, you know there's multiple libraries, 2 bigger ones. The E-Res is probably the nicest library, really big one. And I think that it's the D-Res library. That's the one that I would study in mostly, because the E-Res library was louder. My favorite book in the Bethel library, after I got done with my studies for my meetings and whatnot, it was called Splendors of Christendom. My favorite book in the Bethel library was not a book published by Watchtower, to my knowledge. It was called The Splendors of Christendom. It was a really big book, and it had pictures in it. Like whole pages of the book was just pictures of splendors of Christendom, pictures of the inside of churches, pictures of, I think it's St. Peter's Basilica or something like that, pictures of stuff I had never seen before and I didn't even know existed. My favorite book after I got done with my studies, and I was just interested, I'm in the library, I'm just interested in looking into something that was interesting, it was called the Splendors of Christendom. And it shocked me as odd. I felt kind of strange sitting there with a big book about important sites and pictures of statues and buildings that were of Catholic origin. But it wasn't a feeling of I'm going to get in trouble, because this is a book in the Bethel library. Now, before I got to Bethel, I'm going to tell you another book that you will never guess. I'm not even going to give you 3 guesses. You will never guess the first time I read this book. Before I got to Bethel, I knew what Mormons were. I just didn't know any details about Mormonism. All I knew was out in service, we would meet up with Mormons sometimes, and then after we talk to them, we get in the car group, and everybody's talking about how they banned blacks, from joining their temples up until like 1978 or something crazy like that. That's all I knew about Mormons. I didn't know nothing. I didn't know why they called them that. I didn't know anything about Mormons until after Bethel was when I learned more. But another book that, just going through all the books in the library that I picked out and took a look at, was called the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon inside the Bethel library. I pull out the Book of Mormon. Now I can understand why there was a book called The Splendors of Christendom in there. They probably got a lot of books on a lot of different religious things. People may use that for research on talks and things like that. They could probably excuse it as, well, we need a resource to do our research on talks, since Wallkill, Bethel is in the middle of nowhere, and it's not like you're just going to drive off somewhere and do research. You need to do all the research there at Bethel. So the reason why we have this is for research. They could probably excuse it, and a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses would buy that excuse. The Book of Mormon, what that is their Bible. I sat down with this book called Book of Mormon, sat down with it, opened this thing up, and I'm reading it, and it reads just like a Bible would, but everything in it is 1,000% different. It's like if somebody read the Bible and said, okay, I'm going to write a book like it, but with different content, and they just sat down and copied the type of verbiage in the Bible and thee and thou and all of that. I'm sitting here reading the Bible for Mormons. How are you going to explain that? You don't need the Mormons' Bible to do research on Mormonism. You guys would be shocked. And then the E-Res library. So I like the library, and I don't know, it was between the E-Res and I believe it was a D-Res. I could be wrong about the exact residence that library is in, but for sure the E-Res library, I like that because it was super nice, but was always people in it. That's the only thing I didn't like. I liked how nice it was, but there were always people in it, and they're always talking, making noise in the library when you're trying to study. So I spent more time in the, I believe it was a D-Res library. But the whole point is, there's books that are strange in the E-Res library published by Watchtower. I was born and raised Jehovah's Witness. And when I got started digging around in the E-Res library and pulling out some of those really, really old publications produced by Watchtower, and I open it up, and this thing is filled with freaking angels and stuff that just looked spiritistic. Now, if you open a Jehovah's Witness publication now, it just looks like a study book, a book that you use to study. Some of those older publications, you open them bad boys up, it's got angels every freaking where, like a flood of angels, and it almost looks like something that is eerie. How am I reading books from Watchtower that give me an eerie feeling when I was born and raised Jehovah's Witness, and I was raised on their publications? That's how different the organization used to be compared to what it is now. The stuff that you read back before, man, that stuff was like beyond churchy. It was almost spiritistic, some of that stuff. So I read some of that stuff, and that's the book that I read, and went back to my assignment and told some of the people there that I read that, and they told me, yeah, maybe you should stay away from some of that stuff. Now, I don't know why they said it, but based off their knowledge of me, for some reason, they told me, yeah, maybe you should stay away from some of those books. They're not for everybody. This is what happens when you come to Bethel. You come to Bethel thinking it's one thing when it is 100% something else. And you've run into situations that you were not prepared for prior to coming to Bethel. You guys comment down below and let me know what you think. But there's all kinds of books in the Bethel library. I don't know what's in the Brooklyn library. Brooklyn library has probably got way more. But there's all kinds of books in the Bethel library that you wouldn't even be allowed to have as a Jehovah's Witness. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be allowed to have the Book of Mormon. I'm reading the Book of Mormon because it's in the Bethel library. And when I read it, I knew it was titled the Book of Mormon, and I just read, and I'm like, this thing looks like a Bible. What is this? I didn't even know what the world I was looking at. So some of my interest in other religions that I got into after Bethel came from me studying in the Bethel library. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Building is supposed to have God's spirit. How's the Book of Mormon in there then? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. X-Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.